Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Great America Show. Good to have you with us. Well, Rhino former Speaker Kevin McCarthy rejected once again by his peers. The former Speaker has been on a revenge tour against the 8 brave Republicans who voted to oust him. Tuesday, his power was put to the test in South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. McCarthy was trying to unseat Congresswoman Nancy Mace with his war chest of millions of dollars, and he failed and failed miserably. Well, Mace prevailed against her McCarthy-backed primary challenger by a winning margin of 27%. That's prevailing. And McCarthy isn't the only rhino running around on a revenge tour. His mentor, Paul Ryan, also out of the closet looking for revenge and no longer hiding the fact. Fox board member Paul Ryan on Fox News this week. Now think about that. How much of a conflict of interest is that? A board member on Fox News railing against Donald Trump. I mean, it's just nuts. And spewing his Trump derangement syndrome all over the screen. Ryan says President Trump, you know he's a big-time qualified character on this, Ryan, that is, says Trump is unfit for office. And well, who should know about being unfit for office? I mean, that is all about Paul Ryan. Here he is.
And I do think character is a really important issue. If you put yourself above the Constitution, as he has done.
But what happened?
I think that makes you unfit for office.
Was it the whole January 6th thing?
That's a part of it. I think it's a contribution of factors, but I think it really is just character at the end of the day. And the fact that if you're willing to put yourself above the Constitution, an oath you swear when you take office, in federal office, whether it's president or a member of Congress, you swear an oath to the Constitution. And if you're willing to suborn it to yourself, I think that makes you unfit for office.
Does it?
Ryan obviously still can't get over the fact that Donald Trump got him the hell out of Congress because he is the one unfit for any public office. It looks to me like he's unfit to be on a public company board. He's out talking politics on that company's news network. And our friend Congressman Troy Nehls of Texas had a few choice words for Ryan after hearing what he had to say about President Trump. Here is Congressman Nehls.
Paul Ryan, you're a piece of garbage. You're a piece of garbage, and we should kick you out of the party. For Paul Ryan to say he's not voting for Donald Trump, that's the problem with some of our Republicans. It's guys like that. Don't go spouting your mouth off and saying you're a conservative. You're spitting in the face of the leader of our party, Donald Trump. I mean, grow up a little bit.
Turning now to the cartel-owned southern border, 6 suspected terrorists with ties to ISIS have been arrested in a sting operation in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. Those 6 arrested are reported to have come through the cartel border to the south. Our guest today knows more about that cartel-owned border than perhaps anyone. He is the former head of Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan. And now here is Mark Morgan. And Mark, I just got to tell you how great it is to have you on the show again and to talk about, I think, certainly, if it is not the most important issue, one of the most important issues in this election and for this country. Let's start with your assessment of what has happened here to the borders. This administration has, without question, simply turned that border over to the Mexican drug cartels, don't you think?
Lou, first of all, it's great to be with you once again. And I couldn't have said it better myself, but I completely agree. We were talking about it a few minutes ago, and at the end of the day, look, there's been challenges on both sides of the aisle when it comes to securing our border for decades. But this is really the first time in our lifetime where an administration intentionally and knowingly came in and literally took the most secure border in our lifetime and intentionally unsecured it. And it took me a while because as an American, I didn't want to come to this realization. But at the end of the day, because we ask each other all the time, why? Well, at the end of the day, we know why. It's about perpetual political power. It's about votes. And really, there's 2 major things that drive them. One, we know that illegal aliens are counted as part of the census. So there's a very real redistricting of House seats in favor of the Democrats, which then clearly impacts Electoral College. And then they're also playing the long game, and they believe that every single illegal alien they find a pathway to citizenship is going to equate to a Democratic vote. So they've literally jeopardized our nation's safety and national security in the name of politics.
And to that point, I was stunned to see, because as you know, for years, immigration has been at the very top of this country's priorities in terms of political issues, et cetera. But never before have we seen illegal immigration rise to 62% of those who say we have to have deportations of all the illegal aliens who've come into the country in the past 3 years and 3 months. It's stunning to see it. And by the way, it's also reassuring.
I agree, Lou, on both counts. If you would have asked me that the poll would have been 62%, like you said, supporting large-scale removal operation in this country, I would have said, no, that's never going to happen. And that's, of course, part of the problem. But I think the reality has happened is that the past 3.5 years, this administration has so blatantly and so boldly opened our borders up. Again, the last 40 months or so, there's been 10 million in total nationwide encounters, plus another 2 million gotaways. At this pace, by the end of his first 4 years, you're looking around 14 million total nationwide encounters and gotaways, Lou. I mean, that would make it the equivalent to the 4th most populated state in this country. That's insanity. There's no country on the face of the planet that can sustain that. None. And I think the American people, after 3.5 years, see that for what it is. And they understand that this cannot be sustained. And the part of the solution can't just be to secure a physical border. We also have to take care of the individuals that are here in the country illegally, as well as go after the cartels, as you mentioned earlier. And I think that's what you're seeing reflected in the polls. And, there's another poll I just saw from, I believe it's CNN, that said President Biden right now is upside down 28 points with respect to his handling the border as compared to the confidence of how President Trump would handle it.
Right. And that is a major, major issue, obviously, for the electorate this year going into November 5th. I also wonder just how in the world we're going to get it fixed. I know the president has said he wants the largest massive deportation effort in the country's history, a program to deport all of those illegals. I mean, that is a huge undertaking. No one knows that better than you. What do you think it will take to remove, you said 14 million, let's call it, make it easy, 5 million a year. How in the world can we get them out of that efficiently, effectively, and in a reasonable amount of time?
Well, first of all, let's step back real quick for context. Really, to do what we need to do, there's a multi-layer strategy. First, we have to secure a physical border, and we need resources and policies. I don't have faith that Congress is going to give those to us, so we're going to have to do that through executive action. But President Trump gave us those tools and networks and authorities the last time. I'm confident the same thing will happen. The second leg of that three-legged stool is we have to fundamentally change how we go after the cartels. We have to defeat them. They cannot remain in existence if we're truly going to have a secure border. And the third thing is interior enforcement, Lou. And here's what I say. I know it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but people say, well, how can we do it? And I say, well, we start with one at a time. And my purpose of saying that is that we can't just give up. We can't say because there's too many, what do we do? Just not try? We have the foundation. Enforcement and removal operations, it's a subcomponent of ICE. Look, I think they're some of the best in the world at going after individuals in a country that are here illegally. We just need to help ICE. We need to give them what I would say assistance on steroids. It's going to take a whole of government approach. A lot of different departments and entities are going to have to be involved. And we're also going to need congressional assistance, political will, especially through the funding mechanism. If we have all that together, we can do this, Lou.
Well, I certainly believe we can. What I don't understand is the scale of it, because we've never before been bringing in 5 million illegals a year, and I'm rounding off your number, 14 million to 5 million a year. It's just, how big would ICE have to be effective in that role of bringing those people from wherever they are, whatever community, and getting them ready to be transported back to the countries of origin?
Yeah, so Lou, you bring up a very, very good point, right, about the numbers that are coming in. first of all, for interior enforcement to be successful, we have to cut up the spigot first, right? The former chief of Border Patrol said, hey, look, I don't need necessarily more resources at this moment. His analogy was a fire hose. He goes, I don't need more buckets to manage the water. I need you to turn off the fire hose. So one of the first thing in strategy, we have to secure the border. We have to shut down the border. We have to stop the introduction. We have to stop catch and release of more illegal aliens. That's number one. And then simultaneously going after cartels. But when it comes to interior enforcement, we're going to need assistance, including from the United States military. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be, rolling military out into cities. That's not what I mean. But to help support them on the logistics side, whether that's transportation you talked about, whether that's temporary detention facilities. So we're going to need to augment ICE resources to be able to do that. But I give you, look, Eisenhower did this, back in the 50s, right? In 1 year, we removed over 1 million. And then what we also saw, Lou, and I think the same thing will happen again, they had over 700,000 self-deport. So if people are here in the country illegally, really believe we're serious about it, you're going to have potentially hundreds of thousands actually self-deport as well. And the last thing I'll say about this is that we've got to have the political strength, courage, and will of Congress to support us financially. And I think one way we do that is what ICE has continued to do, and that's prioritize criminals. No one can be off limits, but we prioritize criminals. We go after murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members first, and we can do this.
We're talking with Mark Morgan, the former commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. We're coming right back, and we're going to talk about how do you move 15 million people out of the country. Oh, by the way, once you get that wall built, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back with Mark Morgan, and I want to start with this new executive order from President Biden. The man is a liar. He's cognitively impaired. He's a puppet president, but man, does he have some kind of chutzpah. This guy is telling everybody he's going to take care of the border now in the last 5 months of this term. And then we get this little proclamation guidance saying the door is now wide open for migrants, period. And don't worry about all that stuff I've been lying about in public. Here's what we're doing. Bring them in. Were you shocked? I mean, we shouldn't be shocked by this guy, but I actually was still shocked by just the outrageous audacity to go through this.
Yeah, Lou, I'm with you on that. I called it, this was a cringeworthy political stunt that did actually surprise me, that after 3.5 years of saying, quote, there's nothing more that I can do, I'm waiting for Congress to give me the power. That was a lie as well. I mean, because we know he used his executive power to enact 94 executive orders that dismantled and destroyed all the network of tools and authorities we had in place under the
John,
administration. So he was lying from day one.
Hey, Mark, can you hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lagging for some reason. Hold on, just pick back up there. Can you give us a 10 count?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, it's off. Hold on one second. Let me put it in the lobby. Let me pause it. And you're good to go.
Yeah, Luke, look, I'm with you on this as well. I kind of refer to this as a cringe-worthy political stunt. So I was taken by surprise as well. 5 months before election. Remember, this is the same president for 3.5 years has been saying, quote, there's nothing more that I can do. I'm waiting for Congress to give me the authority and power to act, to address the crisis. We knew that was a lie, because we knew he used executive authority to enact 94 executive orders that destroyed and dismantled the network of tools, authorities, and policies we had in place under the Trump presidency that really led to the most secure border in our lifetime. But it's even worse than that, Lou, because the executive order, it's a joke. It's meaningless. It's not going to shut down or close the border, not for a day, not for an hour, not for 10 seconds. The loopholes would rival a block of Swiss cheese. I mean, it's actually going to allow 22,500 illegal aliens to enter on the southwest border in between the ports of entry before they do anything. That's 1 million a year. They've also carved out, if they use that CBP1 app, they're going to still allow them to come to a land port of entry or fly into one of 45 airports and be released in the United States. That's another 1 million plus a few 100,000 gotaways. Mm-hmm. That's why, Lou, that's why I keep saying, look, this is not a serious executive order to address the crisis at the border. This is about addressing the crisis at the polls for President Biden.
Yeah, no question about it. Well put. And the idea that this country right now is losing, the estimate is 100,000. My guess is it's well north of that, the number of Americans dying every year from fentanyl. And that means that President Biden is responsible for the deaths of somewhere around 400,000 Americans just in the short time that he has been president of the United States. This is dastardly. I mean, we're talking Vietnam, 58,000 killed, and we have double that every year to fentanyl, and no one's building a monument to those sorry souls who were addicts and killed themselves on fentanyl, thanks to the CCP that delivered the fentanyl to Mexico and manufactured it, and then the cartels distributed it in our country.
Yeah, Lou, look, once again, you said it better than I could have. Look, this is why I've said for a long time, I'm with you, that both President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas have blood on their hands. Look, no administration, no matter how hard they try, are going to be able to be perfect. But if you actually have an administration that's doing all they can to actually secure the border, then, hey, you look at them saying, hey, are they doing the best they can? That's not what's happening in this administration. They're doing the opposite, as we discussed. They've intentionally unsecured the border. Knowing full, Secretary Mayorkas, remember, he was the deputy secretary when I was chief of the Border Patrol. He damn well knows what's happening. He knows the data. He knows that drugs are pouring in every single day. He knows that fentanyl is pouring in from the southwest border every single day. He knows that our borders are unpatrolled and unmanned because they're off the front lines processing illegal aliens. Literally, we've handed operational control over to our southwest border to the cartels so they continue to push fentanyl across, killing Americans every single day that you just talked about. And the secretary and the president of the United States know this is happening, and they know it's a direct result of their open border policies. So I do believe absolutely 100% they have blood on their hands.
Yeah, as do I. I agree with you 100%. And so as we talk about this, what about Mexico? Everybody leaves, not everybody, but a lot of people leave Mexico out of the equation. And now we have a new president. We also have a president that is, well, the old boss is the new boss because she is a disciple acolyte of Manuel López Obrador. Yep. And so it's difficult for me to see that there would be any difference. And if there is a difference between AMLO and her, it's going to be probably that she's even going to be worse to deal with than him. At least he preserves the idea of a populist. She's a communist.
Yeah. No, look, I think the parallels between our two countries are really remarkable. I mean, you've got Biden that's holding the seat, but Obama's connected to that. And I think the same thing is unfolding in Mexico right now, as you just described. And I think here's something that as the United States, we have to come to realization is that Mexico is really no longer a true partner for the United States. And they haven't been for a long time. And we have to fundamentally change how we look at Mexico and how we deal with Mexico. And in turn, then that will help us deal with the cartels. I subscribe to the AG Barr approach to going after the cartels, the kind of planned Colombia approach, where we use the United States military. I'm not saying we roll tanks into Mexico, but we use special operations capabilities to use precision surgical kinetic operations to go into Mexico and really strike at the heart of the cartels. We know where all the meth labs are. We know where the fentanyl is coming in. We know where all the drug and human smuggling routes are, and we can defeat them. But that's going to be the only way we can, because Mexico doesn't have the political will or the capability to actually defeat the cartels at this point.
And do you think that we have the will and the resources to get it done?
I think that's a good question. I think we have the resources to get it done. The real question that I'm not sure about is the will. Look, for the past 100 years, Congress has really failed to really step up and give persistent, ongoing legislative fixes that we need to address the illegal immigration flow and secure our borders. The Republicans just blew it again. Speaker Johnson, he promised the American people he's going to, quote, hold the line when it came to H.R. 2 and not give a foreign aid package. And at the midnight hour, for unspeakable reasons, he walked away from H.R. 2 and still gave $95 billion to other countries to secure and defend their border. So I'm not sure we have the political will to do it.
Or perhaps the Speaker of the House to do it. We're talking with Mark Morgan, former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner. And what I'd like to do right now, before we go to a quick break, I want to tell you about a great sponsor of this Great America podcast. This episode is sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. American retirees and those close to retirement can't seem to catch a break. Don't let bad policies and record inflation take away your lifetime of hard work. If you have an IRA, 401k, or another retirement account, you might take a look at Colonial Metals. Go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Dobbs. Colonial Metals Group was founded on the same principles as our great country. They help Americans take control and safeguard their future. Their team of experts specialize in protecting your retirement with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. By creating a self-directed IRA, you have direct access to your assets. You're not at the whim of the stock market or the current administration. Go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Dobbs for your free retirement protection kit, created specifically for our listeners and followers. That's colonialmetalsgroup.com/Dobbs or call 800-655-5323 to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver. We're talking with the former head of CBP, Mark Morgan. Please stay with us through this quick break. We'll be right back.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back now. We're talking with Mark Morgan. And Mark, again, just a delight to have you with us today. Look forward to talking with you more in the days and weeks ahead, because so much is going to involve everything that your career has been about, the sovereignty of the nation and to control our borders. I'm just so concerned that we will once again run into a situation where there will be opposition to a wall on the border. There will be opposition to President Trump's plans to get rid of the cartels, his plans to deport those illegal aliens. Your thoughts?
Lou, I think you're absolutely right. History has shown it again and again. Obviously, we know where the Democrats are going to be. But the challenge that I really have is the Republican side, and you and I have talked about it. Remember, the first 2 years of the Trump administration, the Republicans controlled the Senate and the House, yet they failed to get a single piece of meaningful border security legislation passed that would have addressed the loopholes and really give the authorities to the president and us on the front lines to do our job. At the end of the day, we had to really look at and use purely internal policies and executive order to get done what we needed and provide the resources like the wall that we needed. I think the same thing's going to be done. Again, we just talked about Speaker Johnson as a quintessential example. H.R. 2 was the strongest piece of border security legislation that's ever been passed in either chamber of the Congress in our lifetime, Lou. And that was over a year ago. And again, Speaker told the American people, Lou, I promise we're going to hold the line on H.R. 2. And what's he do? Backs off, gives $95 billion to multiple countries to protect, defend, and secure the border. Meanwhile, nothing with respect to H.R. 2 and our ability to secure our border. So I don't have faith in either party that even if President Trump's in the White House, that they're going to give him what he needs. And so we're going to have to use executive order and internal policies to actually secure the border and protect this country.
Do you think that finally, at long last, the political admixture is here, finally, to actually put in E-Verify, to hold employers accountable for illegal employees, to actually deport illegal aliens who are in this country at the invitation of Joe Biden and have come on over the last 3.5 years, some 15 million of them. Do you believe that we're near that in terms of political will and purpose?
I don't, Lou. I don't. If Speaker Johnson would have held to H.R. 2 with respect to the foreign aid package, I may have a different response. I may say the Republicans are finally coming together and they're actually showing some strength and political courage and will. But they failed once again to hold that line and do what the American people needed them to do. So what I do have faith, though, is that President Trump will come in and give ICE the support they need to do to increase worksite enforcement operation, to go after those companies hard and go after them every day across this country with respect to hiring illegal aliens and actually holding the illegal aliens to task as well and removing them as well. I think that's what we're going to need to do. Now that I think the American people are starting to see the light, and you're seeing some of that change in the polls that you've mentioned.
Well, Mark, we're going to give you the concluding thought, the last word here today. Great to have you with us. And if you will, your concluding thoughts.
Lou, first of all, it's great to be with you. You look great. I think, look, I love talking to you every single time because you understand the issue. You have for many, many years. You and I have been talking about this for many years. At the end of the day, if I could tell the American people, it's this simple. Why are we concerned about illegal immigration? Because border security is synonymous with national security. When you flood our borders with millions of illegal aliens, you pull resources off the front line, away from their law enforcement and national security mission. We literally have handed operational control of a large area of the border to the cartels, and they exploit it to push drugs, criminals, and national security threats. There's no downside to securing our border. Less migrants suffer and die, and less Americans suffer and die. It's that simple.
Mark Morgan, as always, thanks for joining us. God bless you, and great to see you.
You too, Lou.
Thanks to Mark Morgan for being with us, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Be sure to join us here tomorrow for the Great America Show. Our guest will be Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman Burchett says we need accountability for those 51 Intel veterans who lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. Be sure to join us tonight for Lou Dobbs Tonight, 7 Eastern, 6 Central on Frank Speech, Rumble, Roku, and X. Thanks, everybody. God bless you, and may God bless America.